The IBM UrbanCode Deploy Kubernetes plugin now features support for Helm charts. In this video, I'm going to demonstrate deploying a Helm chart to both IBM Bluemix and IBM Cloud Private. To start off, I'm going to use the same container images that I used in the Kubernetes blue-green deployment video. It's a simple Hello World web application. If we look at the code of our web application a little more closely, we'll see that our web application displays a greeting saying hello, and then we have a variable for the name. That name variable is getting its value from an environment variable named name, and if that environment variable name does not exist, we default to a value of world. So if it doesn't exist, we should see a greeting that says hello world. We also added a line that displays the version of our container image. We created 3 versions of these in the Kubernetes blue-green deployment tutorial. So we're going to use those going forward. Now let's take a look at the Helm chart that will use that container image. If I look at my deployment file, I'm going to see something that looks almost exactly the same to what we used in the Kubernetes blue-green deployment video. With one exception, I did add an environment variable named name, and it's set to this value, which it's getting from the values YAML file. If we look at that values YAML file, we'll see I've added a line to show this variable called hello name, and its value is being set to a UrbanCode deploy token. That's going to allow me to set the hello name value inside UrbanCode deploy itself, so we should be able to change the greeting on our web application by changing a value inside UrbanCode deploy, and we won't have to manually edit a YAML file to set that value. In UrbanCode deploy, I've created a component to manage my Helm chart, and I've imported 2 versions of that Helm chart. One of the nice things about UrbanCode deploy is we can compare these chart versions and see the differences between those chart versions. So if I compare version 2.0 of my chart to version 1.0 of my chart, I see that there's a file difference and something's changed in this deployment YAML file. I can drill down deeper and we see that version 2.0 of my chart is using version v2 of my container image, while version 1.0 of my chart is using version v1 of my container image. Now let's take a look at the application I've put together inside UrbanCode deploy. For this demonstration, I'm saying that my chart development work is being done in a Bluemix environment. Then when the chart's ready for production, we're deploying it to our production IBM Cloud Private environment. So in this application, I've set up 2 environments. One's Bluemix and one's the IBM Cloud Private. If we click on this Bluemix environment and look at some of my environment properties, we'll notice I have a property here called hello name. The value of this property is what we should see in my web application's greeting. So if I set the value here to John Doe, our web application should say hello John Doe when we visit the website. For this example, I've set that value to an environment property called name. So when I deploy to my Bluemix environment, we should see the message hello dev-bluemix. And in my IBM Cloud Private environment, I have the same property and I've set it to the same value. So when we deploy to IBM Cloud Private, we should see a hello prod-IBM Cloud Private message in our web app. So let's run a deployment. First we'll deploy version 1.0 of our Helm chart to our Bluemix environment. Our deployment's complete. I'm going to go to a URL that I've gotten from Bluemix, and we should see that our hello world greeting is set to hello dev-bluemix like we expected, and we're running version 1.0 of our container image. Let's go back to UrbanCode deploy and deploy version 2.0 of our Helm chart to Bluemix. Our deployment completed. If we go back to our web app and refresh the page, we should see that version 2.0 of our container image is running. Let's now deploy to our IBM Cloud Private environment. Our process completes. I'm going to go to a new browser tab and enter a URL I got from IBM Cloud Private. And we should see that the greeting says hello prod-IBM Cloud Private, and the version we selected in our deployment was version 1.0 of our Helm chart, and that's using version v1 of our container image. So in this video we showed how you can pass values from UrbanCode deploy into your Helm charts, and we demonstrated how to deploy Helm charts to both IBM Bluemix and IBM Cloud Private. Below this video you can find a link to documentation, and in that documentation we'll explain how you can download the application I used in this video, how to set up the application for your own use, and it also includes information on how to set up the container images I used in this video, how to create the Helm chart itself that I used in this video. It gives a detailed explanation on the process I built to deploy to both Bluemix and IBM Cloud Private, and it gives some tips on how I set up UrbanCode deploy to work with both Bluemix and IBM Cloud Private. So check out the documentation for a lot more detail than I got to in the video. I hope it's helpful, and good luck with your Kubernetes Helm chart deployments.